time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Minus the Ottawa Senator Jason York. Brent Wallace alongside Sean Simpson today. Happy July 8th, Simmer. The summer is flying by.
Well, it is. You look at that, Wally, all of a sudden you count it down and it turns into Labor Day, turns into the hockey. But I think for everybody, including yourself, this is where you want to slow down a little bit. We finally hit a little weather and a little time off. How you doing?
Time to take the moose for a walk by the lake.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No, everybody around here. You got to understand that in Canada, everybody's got pet moose. Come on.
Yorkie off today. He's at a charity golf tournament. He took his maintenance day, if you will. But that's okay. We don't have time for him anyway. This show is proudly presented by Betways. We're going to get to our guest, Michael Amadio, in 2 seconds because he's busy waiting or anxiously waiting. Go to betway.ca and check out all the latest. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Bet your way with Betway. And by BEI, Bonshire Excavating Inc. Equipment rentals, aggregate topsoil sales. Listen, if you need your driveway paved or if you need some aggregate and topsoil sales, give them a call, help you spruce up the front lawn, if you will. 613-432-1120 or BonisherExcavating.com. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Okay, without further ado, all the way from Sault Ste. Marie. And by the way, Simmer, this whole show can't be about you and the Sioux with Michael Amadio, okay? Okay?
You know what? First of all, Wally, my time there, I was terrible. The team was terrible. It was a dirty old building. Old Mikey here wasn't even born. So I don't think we even hung out at the same spot. So I don't think there'll be a whole lot of walked down memory lane for that matter.
I'm sure there's a couple of bars still available. All right.
That's true.
Please, welcome to the show. One of the newest former Ottawa Senators. I even had to say that properly. Michael Amadio, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys.
Do you spend a lot of time fishing in the summer since you're located in a beautiful part of the neighborhood?
I don't do any fishing or hunting, but a lot of my buddies do, yeah.
Really? So what do you do in the summer?
We live on the lake and kind of just hang out at home. We just had a daughter, so she's 7 months now. We're just getting her acclimated to the water and all that fun stuff.
Mike, I know a ton of guys that have the places out in Manitoulin Island and around there. Absolutely gorgeous. Are you right in Sault Ste. Marie, a little ways out?
We're just past the airport in Sault Ste. Marie. I don't know if you're familiar with the area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's on Lake Superior. Nice little spot.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're lucky over here.
Oh, beautiful.
Let me get right to it. You played for the Sens. So why did you decide to sign here as a free agent? When I'm told, by the way, there was 12 to 14 teams wanting your services.
I just thought there was a mutual interest. I thought it was a good opportunity for me and my family. So I'm looking forward to meeting all the guys again and getting started.
Mike, how wild of a ride has this been? And I guess I look at it from a Sioux kid. I'm not saying you're a Leafs fan, but you signed with the Leafs. That must have been pretty exciting. But at the same time, was the turning point in your career actually getting claimed by the Vegas Golden Knights on waivers?
Actually, I grew up a Colorado Avalanche fan. So,
okay.
But I had an opportunity in Toronto and obviously was getting sent down and kind of maybe a blessing in disguise that I got picked up by Vegas. And, I had an opportunity there and kind of just took it and ran with it.
So when you scored your first NHL goal, which I think was against Toronto, it didn't mean as much. Like I thought that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about growing up in the Sioux. Was it a big deal to score against the Leafs?
No, but I guess in a way it was kind of cool because obviously the Leafs games are televised in Canada a bunch. So all my buddies and family were watching that game, especially. So that one was pretty cool. Yeah.
What made you a Colorado fan, Mike? Was it just quite simply that they were real good teams when you were growing up?
My brother's 5 years older than me, and he kind of grew up watching them. And just the Joe Sakic days, he was our favorite player. So I kind of just looked up to my brother and followed what he liked.
Yeah.
So you wear number 22. Is there a reason?
No, I grew up wearing 19. Then in junior, I wore 18 because 19 wasn't available. And then obviously I feel like 19 is a pretty popular number around the league. So every team you go to kind of just has a guy wearing that number. And then in Vegas, I wore 22. So I kind of just wanted to keep that rolling.
Mike, I mentioned to you, I lived in the Sioux for 3 years, played my junior hockey there. So I had some local guys, including Robbie Zettler, who's a longtime coach. I don't know if you know him, but when you look to the Sioux, certainly very passionate, but not the biggest place in the world. What does it mean to make it to the National Hockey League? And I guess be a pretty good role model for young kids growing up in a small town like that.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Obviously, I looked up to a few guys past from the Sioux who had played, and obviously Tyler Kennedy won the cup a few years back with Pittsburgh, and when he brought the cup, I just remember being that little kid. So when I had the opportunity last year, when I wanted to bring it back home and just seeing all the kids when I brought it to the community was a pretty special time for me and my family.
You got a key to the city.
I'm not sure what doors it opens to, but yeah, I got one.
You should never have to pay for a meal again, probably. Since someone just asked in the chat, Alfie's mullet, by the way, just wanted to know, what was your day like with the Stanley Cup? For those who don't know, Michael scored in the Game 5 clinching game as well when Vegas won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like I said, I did a little community visit, brought it to the old junior rink. Well, I guess it's new now, not the same one you played in. But brought it there for a few hours just for everyone in the community to try and be able to see, come by, get a picture, get an autograph. And then just took it back to my house for a few hours, had little intimate family and close buddies over for a few hours, and then took it to Crimson Ridge golf course and just had kind of a bigger get together with all my cousins and a lot more of my buddies there.
Mike, when you bring it back to the Sioux and you're with your buddies, you still have to kind of pinch yourself looking back, growing up on TV or growing up watching on TV, the Stanley Cup being handed out, that's you. And even better is we just showed that clip right there of your, not only your name, but your family's name, good Italian name on the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes forget that it actually happened, and then just kind of looking back at old videos and just remembering like kind of what we went through as a team, and finally to reach our goal was a pretty special moment. And just being able to share that day with my friends and family was something I'll never forget.
We will get to some Sens chatter in just a second, but I want to know, did you eat anything out of the cup?
Yeah, we ate Lucky Charms out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was this, by the way, was this part of like if you were like 9 years old and go, if I ever win the Stanley Cup, I'm going to eat Lucky Charms?
No, I never had one of those. But I'm a big cereal guy. I love snacking on it whenever, so I just went with that.
And you also mentioned, Mike, how hard it was, and boy, those poor Vegas fans, they've really had a tough go here as far as winning Stanley Cups. Been pretty amazing. To your time there, though, take us through, because I think even in that regular season, I know you played, but you were moved into the playoffs ahead of Phil Kessel, and sure felt like not only did you dress for the playoffs, but kind of a coming out party where you end up having 5 goals and 5 assists in 16 games.
Yeah, I was kind of up and down all year, in and out of the lineup. Just trying to find my spot, I guess. So being able to find my game near the end of the year and find some line mates where I felt good about my game, and then rolling into playoffs, I kind of was just riding that momentum. And yeah, we obviously had a great team, and I played with some pretty special players. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty special run and something that we'll always cherish.
Your name is on the cup, so wherever you go, anywhere, anytime you see the cup, you can see your name. I'm just curious, because if you haven't won it, you don't touch it, you don't go anywhere near it. For you, it's like, oh, there's the cup's over there. Like, I just want to know if it's a different feeling.
Yes and no. I haven't really had the chance to see it since we've won, pretty much. So maybe down the road, if I do get the chance, I'll ask someone if I can touch it again, but we'll see.
What were your buddies like? Were they picking it up, drinking out of it? Like, again, assumption is they're not going to make the National Hockey League anytime soon. So they just say, this is just awesome to be able to touch this thing and maybe have a cold beer out of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was the first thing they all asked was, when can we drink from it?
Yeah. What was the beer of choice or the drink of choice?
We were drinking pretty much, I think, everything, but out of the cup was mostly just beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, quickly into Game 5. You guys win that game 9-3. I think you scored the 5th goal, if I'm not mistaken. I just like, you now know you're about to win the cup for I don't know how many minutes of that game. Obviously for a while. What's that emotion like for you guys?
Yeah, I think we went into this third period with a 6-1 lead, if I remember. So It's just like, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, obviously, but it's kind of like you're just waiting for the time to tick off the clock. And it was kind of a stressful third period in a sense where you're just like, hopefully we can obviously stick it out and grind. But yeah, it was a surreal feeling, obviously, just going into that second intermission and just knowing that this could be the game we win it.
Ownership from day one had talked, and I think a lot of people, including myself, first of all, laughed at the thought you'd win a cup this quickly. What is it about the mentality from George McPhee, Kelly McCrimmon, obviously ownership all the way down, Mike, that just is basically, hey, we're here for one thing, and that's to win a Stanley Cup?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all business there. They got a great staff, and kind of just reflects the work ethic that everyone puts in, and it showed obviously. And they got a great organization. They've been to the playoffs almost every year, the Western Conference Finals a few times, Stanley Cup Finals. So for them to or us to win it in 6 years was pretty special.
One of the topics that have been discussed a lot here in Ottawa recently as they try to rebuild this group and with new ownership and all the other new changes to the organization is culture. I'm curious of what you saw in Vegas, and then you had times in LA and Toronto as well, but of a winning culture and what you can bring into that room, knowing what it takes to win.
I think I'll take all the experience I got from Vegas on and off the ice, and hopefully I can bring that to the guys in Ottawa. Obviously, now I'm a little bit older, not one of the young guys anymore, so being able to bring that presence in the room, I think will be huge for me.
Do you also look at that, Mike, as you just said, you come out of a very veteran team, and not that Ottawa's super, super young, but as you said, you slide into a different feel where now, as a solidified player and a nice contract under your belt, you can be a little bit more of a leader?
Absolutely, yeah. I want to be able to take that next jump in my career, and I think it was the perfect opportunity for me to go to this group. And like you said, they're young, but they're not young at the same time. So no, I'm excited for the opportunity to join the Sens and get going.
All right, so let's go to Ottawa, I guess. What has changed from your first go around when you show up, you play 4 games right away, and then you play one of the next 11 to end the season, which I know is probably a bitter pill. So what happened I guess, was it just a chaos at that time? Because I know it was like off the ice. So let's just get to that point. Were you a little frustrated in how things ended?
Yes and no. I was still a little bit younger at that point in my career, and I kind of hadn't solidified myself in a regular day-to-day NHL position. So I would have liked to stay in Ottawa. Obviously, I was eager to stay there after my 4 or 5 games, like you said. Yeah. So, but it was a blessing in disguise that I was able to leave and mature and play some more games and kind of find my game. And now I feel really confident coming back and being able to bring what I can bring to this team.
Are you also, Mike?
Sorry, Summer.
Go ahead,
did
Wally.
that game change for you then from those 5 games? And there's Toronto, you played 3, I think, to winning a Stanley Cup in Vegas. Did anything happen? Did you do anything differently?
I don't think so, but I think I was just I was at the point where I was like, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. Like, I don't really have any other options at this point, but I just kind of freed up my game and started to let loose a bit, and then good things started happening. So I kind of just rolled with that and gained more confidence and kind of just took off from there.
We see this a lot, Mike, as well, transitioning. That final year of junior in North Bay, 50 goals. That's a hell of a mark. You come in and all of a sudden you're not feeling that. But it looks like the last couple of years here, the scoring numbers have gotten better and better along the playoffs. You kind of set a goal and say, listen, no reason I can't come into a team like this and be a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every year I kind of go into the year with the attitude of just trying to have a better year than I did the previous year. So just going to want to get to Ottawa and build off the few years I had in Vegas, and hopefully it works out.
So some of the players, obviously they're still here. What do you know about this group that excited you enough to sign here? Now, I'm not silly enough to know that money doesn't talk. Obviously that's a big part, but in the overall, you got to look at the makeup of that group. You got to see who's the leader and whatnot. What is it that you liked more than just they're young and up and coming?
I thought it was a good fit for myself. I thought it was a good opportunity for me to go in and play a bigger role. But they're a great young team. They're on the up and up, and I thought it was just a great fit for me and my family. And I was really excited how interested they were in me to come there. So I thought I could bring some veteran presence and kind of add something that they needed. And it's a really exciting opportunity for me and my family, like I said.
Yeah, and this being Canada, people want to know equipment you use, everything, but more importantly, what position? I talked to Bruce Cassidy yesterday. He thought right wing. I know you've played a little bit of center. Where is Mr. Mike Amadio most comfortable at?
I think over the past few years, I've kind of found my groove in right wing, but I've played all over the place in Vegas, up and down the lineup. So I'm pretty comfortable playing any position, but if I had to pick, I would say right wing.
Yeah.
Well, your first game, do you remember your line mates, your first game in Ottawa?
Might have been Drake and Timmy.
It was. I'm just curious
Yeah.
with
Nice.
mentally in on that line now.
Yeah.
Little showcase.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing with those guys.
That wasn't part of the deal. Then one game later, you played with the Zingle and former North Bay teammate, I believe, is Nick Paul.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Me and Paulie played for a little bit in North Bay, so I don't know if DJ was trying to spark a little old chemistry there. Yeah.
Perfect.
What did it feel like in Vegas? A couple of good coaches there, in Pete DeBoer and then Bruce Cassidy, and I know Butchie. He even said can be a bit of a hard ass, Mike. What was it like having those guys to kind of take you next level? Because they've obviously both been very successful.
Yeah, obviously they have a little bit of different coaching styles, but I think they're both great coaches and great for my development. I know I had Pete first there for the 1 year, and then but Butch can be a little tough on guys at times, but I think he brings the best out of your game. So I know it's for the best, and he's just trying to make his team better.
What is it? I guess, did you talk to Travis Green or anything? Have you had much of a conversation with him? And did you have a conversation before you signed with him?
No, I just had a brief conversation with Steve and Travis separately on July 1 there. But obviously they said they'd reach out again in the later weeks. They just have a little bit going on with development camp and all that stuff.
Mike,
Sure.
For yourself, again, Brent kind of touched on it as far as the contract, but not even the dollars. But hey, it hasn't been easy for anyone to make it to the National Hockey League. As you move along now and free agency came, I mean, how rewarding, how good did it feel to sign a nice $7.8 million 3-year contract with the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to do that. Now I have a kid, obviously, so my priorities are a little different from when I came into the league. So just looking out for me and my family, and we thought it was a great fit. We love the city, the fans are great. So we're excited about the opportunity to move there.
Do you know much about the assistant coaches at all? Have you ever dealt with Mike Yao or Nolan Baumgartner? And I don't know how much you know of Alfie.
No, I haven't had any experience with any of those guys.
Do you also find for yourself, Mike, your profile, whether you're playing in Vegas or LA, and I'll even say this back to Nick Paul when he was part of the Spezza trade, everyone was scrambling and kind of being like, who the hell's Nick Paul? Do you all of a sudden, when you realize as a free agent, when you sign here in Canada, just a little bit more news on it, a little more profile than you would have had with other clubs?
Definitely, yeah. I think starting in LA and even Vegas now, I guess, is they're pretty dialed in on their hockey. Yeah. So LA was pretty quiet though. Yeah, you don't really hear much about the hockey guys in the news and there and whatnot. So I know Canada's big on their hockey guys. So I'll be looking out for that. Yeah.
How do you not get distracted playing in Vegas?
I think it's pretty easy. We're in a little subdivision, like 20 minutes away from downtown, whatever. It almost doesn't even feel like you're in Vegas at times. But yeah, just get away from the rink and hang out with your family, forget about hockey. And then when it's time to go to the rink, you just got to dial in and make sure you're ready to go.
Didn't everybody always have this reverse, Mike? There's nothing wrong with the local players. You've seen it, done it, whatever. The way the distraction happened is for the guys that are visiting.
Yeah. That's when you have friends and family coming in and wanting to do all the tourist things. That's when it gets a little tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised at the support in Vegas? I mean, I know you had a winning product, but as you said, people have gotten pretty dialed in, and from a lot of people, I assume from all over the country and all over the world for that matter, sure seems like they've taken an awful liking to ice hockey.
Absolutely. I think because it started as their own team, I think that's kind of where the fans clung on to, and that's where all their fan base is. And obviously you have people around the world now just because they're playing so well that kind of just hop on and are Vegas fans, but they've done a great job of being productive there and making sure that their team is always good. So that obviously adds to it.
I know you're from the Sioux, but you played in Vegas. Are you prepared for the Ottawa winter?
I haven't had a cold winter since North Bay, so it'll be a little eye opening for me. But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
After Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay, I can say after 3 years, you'll be more than fine. And it might be the perfect winter for a young family. Celebrity-wise, Vegas, first of all, who's the most famous person you meet? And did you ever slide into the old Pawn Shop for the Pawn Stars? That's one of my favorite shows on TV.
I don't know if I don't even know if I've met like a really famous celebrity there.
Okay.
And I haven't been to the pawn shop actually, no.
Okay.
I've driven by it a few times. It's always pretty busy, but I never went in myself.
Marc-Andre Fleury was in an episode.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They did him.
He
was on Counting Cars as well. So I thought, God, if they're doing that, then I thought they even did Marcia's car, or Marcia so. But I thought, hey, Mike would end up knowing that. But hey, it's just like here in Ottawa. You live here, but you don't necessarily visit all the places.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
So what hobbies do you have outside of perhaps golf or hanging out in the summer? Do you have anything? What do you like to do to take your mind off hockey?
I was gonna say golf. I don't really do much else. I hang out at home with the baby now. She's keeping us pretty busy. So yeah, just being a dad and golf, I'd say right now.
Is it also, Mike, kind of nice just to have that routine, to be able to do your training, to just focus on everything else at the same time, just decompress and get ready for the season?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love coming home and just seeing a smile on her face. It kind of just makes you forget about everything else going on in the world. And like you said, it just kind of, you get that stress-free life at home. And that's, I think, huge for any hockey player.
Who reached out to you, if anybody, since you're kind of a former son? It's so weird that you're a former son. Did Brady call? Did former line mates Drake check in?
Yeah, Brady texted me, Drake, Timmy, Giroux, Hamonic, and Shabby all reached out already. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. And I know Vegas certainly wanted to bring you back, Mike. Was there ever any thought or any chance, or was it just not realistic under the salary cap?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there was a chance, but like you said, I think they were running into salary. You obviously couldn't fit everybody in there, so they had to do some juggling, and it just didn't work out in the end.
What's that day like for you? Did you expect to have 14 teams? I think it's 12 or 14, somewhere in there, contacting you and you having to make a decision of like, do you have it on a bulletin board? I don't know. How quickly is this all going down?
Yeah, I know it was a pretty stressful month, obviously, leading up to it, because you don't really hear much and you don't know anything. So the day it flies by, but it's so long at the same time where like you don't really know where you're going or what to expect. So it was my first time going through that too. So it was a pretty different experience, but I'm glad it all worked out.
You can sit down and, hey, a good agent will certainly get out there and have some, I'm not saying any conversations, but did you have any real expectations on either term or dollars, Mike? Or were you a little bit floored when it reached not 3 years, but certainly when it got up to $2.6 million per?
Yeah, I think we were just looking for somewhere to get 3 years, just to kind of stick around and plant roots with the family and just know where we're going to be and not have to kind of worry about moving around. So I think that was the biggest thing. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm totally pumped for you, because there was a time that you went between it's a couple of years that you didn't score. Like, I know you weren't playing regularly in the NHL, but there was a while. Like I don't know what that's like for a hockey player. You're a 50 goal scorer in junior. I don't know if that's weighing on you. I don't know what that time is like for you.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah, I think I was in LA at the time, and then I got traded to Ottawa. It might have been like I don't know, it feels like it was 100 games, but it might have been, I don't know, 50 or 60 games between Ottawa, LA, Toronto, and then even my first few games in Vegas, I didn't score. So that first goal I did score with Vegas was like a huge weight coming off the shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like with a lot
2 years, by the way?
Yeah.
December 14th. I not trying to rub this in. December 14th, 2019 to December 3rd, 2021. You scored in Arizona. I know when you were in Ottawa, it was at least 61 games. So I can't imagine what that is mentally. Like, did you change sticks? Were you trying to do different stuff?
I was changing everything. Yeah. Change sticks, change tape job, change gloves. I was doing whatever I could to find something, but nothing seemed to work. And then, like I said, I kind of was on my third team at that point and however many games and just kind of let loose. And that's when I started to find my game again, which was a relieving feeling.
Yeah, now you're on a heater, 30 goals the last couple of years, Mike. Is that not the case, though, Mike, you see with a lot of players? I'm sure Nick Paul could have the conversation. Here's a guy that went through waivers a couple of times of getting to the NHL, and what your mentality is trying to survive. And when you're in survival mode, it's real hard from the outside. People look, why aren't you doing it? But all you're thinking about when you get on the ice is not making a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you're trying to stay in the lineup every night and just trying to get your foot in the door, I think you just got to be able to find your game or be able to be effective in other ways when you're not scoring. So when you do go through slumps, you just got to find a way to contribute. And I think that was the biggest thing for me to just kind of stick around for that long.
I know your nickname is Ammo. I'm just curious if you would be okay with everybody calling you Rock Me Amadio.
I'm okay. Whatever nickname you guys got, I'll roll with it.
Now, can you confirm that you've never heard of Rock Me Amadio, the song by Falco, which is an 80s song, Mike?
I've never heard it, no.
Okay.
What?
I might have to give it to a
you got it. You got to take a look, but the video is so old. It's of my vintage. Like, it doesn't even look like it was. It looks like it was shot in the 1920s. But honestly, I can't believe that they're not playing. This got like, I mean, they'll have a goal song for you. Rock Me Amadio.
Maybe,
hey?
I'll have to give it a listen later, yeah, and watch the
okay,
video.
Good.
You gotta Rock Me Amadeus. Oh, this might be the biggest thing I've learned from this entire interview. I guess, when do you get here? Are you an early arriver, or will you be the September type? Is there a chatter of guys getting together sooner?
I'm gonna come down in the next few weeks just to start looking at places to rent or to buy, wherever we decide to do. I'll be down there for a few days. I don't know, maybe a week. We'll see. But I'll probably come down at the beginning of September too, just to get everything settled and make sure we have everything moved in and whatnot.
A little different vibe to it now, Mike. That you have, I sorry that you have a child. Little different feel on how you want to set up shop, and as you said, kind of plant some roots.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe buying is a better option at this point, and making sure we can just kind of leave our stuff and not have to worry about moving it back and forth every summer. Yeah.
You will be the third new senator that we've tried to sell our co-host Jason York's house to. If need be, we can get you the address. It's a lovely location. You'll enjoy it. It's right by Drake Batherson. It's awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to check it out. Yeah, we'll see.
There's been lots. Even Mark Stone has said what an important piece you were to that organization and what it was like to play with you. I guess hearing that stuff from guys like Stoner and whatnot, I guess, what does it mean to you about how far perhaps your game has come?
Yeah, it's obviously special to know that they felt that way about me in the room and on the ice. So I think it's always, again, just a little confidence booster to know that the guys on the team liked you and all that.
And to that, Mike, when I talked to Butch, he mentioned about you moving around in the lineup. Is that kind of the thing that fans, and I say this a lot, where don't slide a guy into a particular spot, kind of look at it as a top 9, where if you're a good team like Vegas had, where it's almost interchangeable parts. I mean, I think there's times you look at the Vegas lineup, you're kind of like, really? That's a Stanley Cup champion? But everything seemed to work properly.
Yeah, I think that's why we were so successful, is because we had guys playing up and down wherever we needed them to play. And I think that was what made us such a good team at that time.
Do you know anything about Linus Ullmark?
Just that he's a good goalie.
I just figured it's got to be a pretty good feeling to know that he's the starting goalie behind you guys this season. So I was curious if you knew much. Do you have, if this was a grade 12 talent show, do you have any hidden talents? Like, what would you do?
That's a great question. I don't know what I would do. I don't think I know I have any hidden talents, but maybe we'll learn something over the few years.
As a true Italian, is it true that you actually shaved this morning and that is actually your beard?
I just shaved right before the interview, and then this is what came back.
You have a playoff beer before the playoffs even start, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Tell people how good the food is in the Sioux, because that's one thing I'll say. The Italian food, second to none.
Oh yeah, that's one thing we do got here is really good restaurants. So any kind of home cooked meal you want, we got.
You talked about liking cereal as your snack. One of the favorite questions of the show is, if you were to watch a movie at night, what is your cheat snack? Is it going to be cereal?
Probably a bag of chips.
Is there a flavor?
Yeah. Right now is the spicy dill pickle spicy dill pickle. Yeah, the Miss Vicky's.
Miss Vicky's. My daughter just brought those home. They're actually pretty good.
Yeah, they are. I feel like once I have a few, I have to eat at least half the bag.
All right, fair enough. Mike, we appreciate your time. I know it's by the way, do you go by Mike or is it just Michael? Some people only want to go by Michael.
Whatever you guys want, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me.
It's rock me going forward. So forget about the rest of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Rock me ammo. Right?
Yeah, I'm good with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Ammo's out. Rock Me Amadio is the new thing. So you'll have to pick that. Please just use that at least once when you score your goal. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I don't know who I got to talk to, but I'll let them know to play that once or twice.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate your time, Mike, and we'll see you soon, hopefully in Ottawa. I look forward to a great season for you. There's a lot of excitement building of what this team has done in the offseason, and you're a big part of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Take care. There goes Mike Amadio of the Ottawa Senators, number 22 on the roster. He's just a good, hardworking kid.
Yeah.
I guess at 28, you can't call him a kid anymore.
No, he's not, Wally. But again, it's amazing the parallels when you look at Nick Paul and you look at different players of where they're at. And a few years ago, hey, you're in Toronto's camp. You don't even make the team. You go on waivers and you kind of wonder where your career is at. And the other part, and I think we all know this from our own line of work, is the instability, right? And how you mentally get over that hurdle to all of a sudden become a player, to become successful. And that transition for guys that score 50 goals in the OHL. And when you're playing for Stan Butler, it's not like you're a one-way player, but at the same time, how do you fit in? And I think one of the nice things that's happened while in the National Hockey League is that those types of players used to be either they play in your top two lines or they don't play at all. Well, we've seen a shift now where you can mix around. If you play properly, you can do some different things and you can be basically in the top nine. And that's really what he's become. And obviously for the contract the Sens gave him, what they expect him to be.
And I know it's tough because you ask a guy like, oh, what do you bring to the team? But I really think that he is a guy that is referred to as the Swiss Army knife. I know it gets overused, but he can play in the middle of the ice and he can play on your wings and he can play up and down the lineup. He's shown it. The guy had 5 goals, 10 points in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? Like he scored a double overtime winner. I meant to ask him about that. Like he's proven he can play that game. And I just like the age, the maturity, and I like the way he plays. He just plays a hard game, right? And you can see, Simmer, the change in the culture, if you will, of just the players and their personalities and their mindset.
Yeah, no, exactly. And now as far as personality and kind of where he's at, it doesn't feel quite like Ullmark, doesn't certainly feel like David Perron, and even Jensen for where he's at in his career. But that's okay. You bring that part to the table, and people mention about him being kind of a poor man Mark Stone who can move around, can play with different players. And the difference of, and it's not to take anything away from Matthew Joseph, because I think on the surface you kind of look at them and say, well, realistically, offensively, is there that much of a difference? You're paying a little bit less money, but you had to give up a 3rd round pick, Wally. What Amadio to me brings is that he's a little bit easier to play with because of the hockey sense and how he can shift around, move around, where the unpredictability of Joseph was just really, really tough. So to me, when you look at that and then you look at Perron, you look at the rest of the group, that's what you're trying to at least do on paper. And the same thing with Jensen on the back end, bring in some guys where it doesn't have to be locked in that they're exactly the spot, but it gives you a feel for the top 9 and the top 4D that somewhere they should mesh and somewhere they should find some chemistry as a group.
And that's right. I'm just excited to see how they come together, because you don't have to have a bunch of all-stars on your team every year. You just have to make them play the right way. I'm excited to see if Travis Green can do that.
Yeah. And again, you go through some of the power of some teams. There's no doubt when I look at the core of Colorado, you go through Chicago when they won Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh. But I think we have seen a change, Wally. And I'll go back to Vegas and you go through their lineup. There were some nights you're kind of like, wow, look at some of those lesser forwards. Look at some of the guys on the back end. It is about a team. It is about being big and heavy, playing properly. I thought St. Louis did that. And then I'll be honest, hey, I know Barkov's a great player, but when you're talking about a guy like Forsling being their top defenseman, Bobrovsky was outstanding. You get into Tkachuk and some other guys, but honestly, go through that lineup. It's not a bunch of guys that were top 5 picks. It's not a bunch of guys that are going in the future in the Hall of Fame. What they found was the right mix of grit, character, well coached, very organized. And I think Ottawa's a lot closer to that. Now, having said that, the next phase is just try to make the playoffs. But for the changes they've made, both in culture and understanding, they're moving closer and closer to some of the symmetry that you see with the Florida Panthers.
So how much of a change, Simmer, would it make this roster if there is a veteran fourth line guy in the middle of the ice at center, right? We talk about them needing that piece still. Is it really going to change much of how this team looks?
Well, it could end up changing.
Hold on, take that one down for a sec. TJ, thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, Wally, when you go through different lineups, hey, in a perfect world, could you go out and find that guy? I look through some of the free agents, and one thing I would not want to do is all of a sudden you got a little extra cash, go and lock yourself in. I would, for right now, if I'm Ottawa, say to myself realistically, if Amadio had to slide to the middle, is that okay? Do you want to try Greg in the middle? Is Norris a center or a wing? You want to, of course, to me, I lock this down. I know everyone has a different. I look at right now as Stützle Pinto as the 1-2, and I look at Greg as a 3. That could all change other than Timmy Stützle, but we don't know about Norris where he's going to end up. We don't know if Ridley Gregg is big and strong enough to play down the middle the whole year. I'm comfortable with that. But I think realistically, if you're having a conversation about who your 10th and 11th and 12th forwards are, or your 6th and 7th defensemen, which I think are locked in, I don't think you should be worrying. And it's kind of where I go back to, I'd probably bring Chartier back, to be quite honest with you, Wally, and versus this mystery player that's out there that probably doesn't exist. I think the Sens for right now have made their bed with their top 5 defensemen, top 9 forwards, and their 2 goaltenders. Now it's just playing around with the sum of the parts, not to mention the 100 players that they signed for Belleville.
Yes. I don't understand the Chartier thing. Like, I really liked him.
Yeah, me too.
But maybe we just think too much of him and he's just a piece, right? That they feel they have, and perhaps if they have to put Ridley Gregg there, although I think he's a third line winger at the moment, or if they've got to move like Zach Ostapchuk or somebody that only plays 8-9 minutes a night. Depends, I guess, on how much you're going to use him, right?
Yeah, and you also, when you look at some of the tinkering that goes on, I don't think we never plan it this way where you'd look, Wally, to the future and say we're going to do something on waivers, but there is a possibility. Are there players to not lock yourself in on? And a few things philosophically. Ridley Gregg at some point will be a top 6 forward in the National Hockey League. There is no reason at his point in his career to be 4th line center. And as far as Ostapchuk, that's a bit different because of the big body. But one of the things I will say, and I'm giving credit here to Pierre Dorion and DJ Smith, one thing they really did, and I'll go back to even Alex Formenton under Boucher, they always sent players back when it would have been easy to keep them. And they always sent players back to Belleville that needed more time. They didn't get necessarily locked in on Drake Batherson. You're locked into the team. No, you're not. You're not good enough right now. We're going to send you back. There were a lot of players that I think they got forward progression. And those are decisions you're trying to look kind of big picture and in the moment, who is more effective in spots, but at the same time understanding development. And they've done a good job of that. And also, they've signed a lot of guys in Belleville and given a lot of guaranteed money. I've got to think they look at that as some of the parts that are going to fill out 10, 11, 12, 13, and could be some moving pieces, Wally, during the season. We're 6 and 7. When I look at the contracts of JBD and Hamonic, I don't think we're going to see a ton of movement as far as the back end, but I think the forward slots, we should see a lot of it.
So I noticed a tweet you had out the other day. You're a little cranky about a development camp. And I'm not sure I get why, to be honest with you.
Oh, the cranky. I don't know if I'm cranky. Here's the thing, Wally, and I'm cranky because I went through the wrong development camp when I was involved in it. The first team to have a development camp in the early 90s was the Washington Capitals with Jack Button. I took over that development camp, I think in 94, and ran it for 10 years. What we did, Wally, at the time is we brought players down for 6 weeks. We did off-ice training, on-ice training. Oh, my God. First of all, not only was it too long, but every year we had somebody arrested. I had to babysit all these kids, which people probably know at that age, I probably wasn't the best babysitter to have. It was a pain in the ass. But what I look at for development camps, Wally, I love them. I love what teams do. But honestly, there's no reason in my estimation. You scouted these kids all year. bringing and putting them on the ice in early July, I'm just not a fan of it. I love them coming in. I love them getting tested. I love them learning. And what you say to them is, listen, got a couple months here. This is what we expect come time in training camp. But as far as the on ice, I just don't see a real purpose to it. No big deal, but I wouldn't bother.
So, and I will defer to you as being in management and understanding how this whole process works. But for me, I just see it as guys who are 18, 19, whatever, full of testosterone, want to see where they match up, want to get on the ice and show the guy up in the corner, Steve Stais, what they can do on the ice and how they look and how it feels to measure up against those guys and what maybe they need to do. So they're only on the ice for 3 days.
Oh yeah. As I said, Wally, it's not even one of those things. I'm not like getting all fired up. All I'm saying is that here's a couple of things. When you have training camps, no matter what you're doing, and when you also go through a cross section, let's be honest, that development camp, if you were to come through, and this is rookie tournaments, a lot of times you'll say, okay, that guy, 3 guys can play. The rest of them are basically American League or East Coast League players. If you went through that competition, what is it really showing you? And from that standpoint, even when you get into training camp, the only time you start to see things are in rookie games when you're actually playing other teams. And then if you're in the big camp, which is so short now, Wally, and you get into real games, but even at that, for young players, you're going to watch them. You're going to assess them when they have their season and what they're doing, maybe at a World Junior. So as I said, I'm not, like I said, there's nothing to get too fired up about. I don't, from a scouting standpoint or from a development, analytical standpoint, I don't put too much into it, to be honest with you.
So if you're a player now that you've left this camp, what is your mindset in the next 2 months here?
Well, the mindset is the good part from a standpoint of when I got drafted, what you would do, we went down to Washington, and honestly, it was just more of a meet and greet. Then you'd show up to training camp and you'd say to the guy, I had no idea you expected me to be in good shape. Oh, well, next year you come back a little bit better. These guys, Wally, now, when they've been drafted, when they've gone to the combine the year that year, then to the team, all of a sudden you're on the clock. And from a fitness standpoint, there's no hiding, there's no lying. Here's what we expect from you. Here's where you were last year. Here's where you were at the combine now. What do we expect in training camp? What it really does for the athlete, it puts you on the clock. There are quite simply no excuses anymore about not the time, didn't know what to do. So that to me is the biggest thing. And then just from a maturity standpoint, hey, there's things you're learning along the way, although these kids are so far along, but nutritionally, just to be at the rink. So when you get to training camp, you feel a little bit more comfortable. But that's the biggest thing is just the fitness part. The work starts now. And if you've been doing it, which a lot of guys do, but you can't hide. There are no excuses by the time you roll into training camp in a couple of months.
All right. We are going to shut it down there because we're going to come back tomorrow morning with the one and only Jason York. We'll see if he has sold his house because Linus Ullmark's in town.
Oh,
maybe
nice.
He's going to buy it.
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty cool that he got a buzz. I didn't know if it was real at first, but any of the guys. And this is also, I did the right thing, Wally, back in the day. I went to the Sioux in the summertime because it was important to realize that when you arrived in Labor Day and didn't leave until May, there wasn't a whole lot of nice weather. So get to the place, see what it's like in the summertime, and you'll appreciate it a little bit more.
And grab a beaver tail.
Exactly.
Okay, Simmer. Thank you to our friend. I guess we can call him our friend now, Michael Amadio, for stopping by.
Rock me ammo. Hey.
We can't combine them both now, can we?
Yeah. And what were the chances of? And I did have to laugh when that video got pulled up. It's like, oh my God, it's so freaking old, but still a great tune. So hopefully we can get that going.
That's a horrendous video. I did watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh man, that's real bad.
Okay. See you tomorrow morning, everybody. 9 a.m.
All right. Cheers, brother.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.